the next episode of C Programming. Today, I'm going to talk about the program we wrote last time to print Hello World on screen. We will go line by line to see what each line means. And then, we're going to use what we learned to write our own programs and do more complex stuff. Here's the program we wrote last time to print Hello World on screen. Let's see if it works or not. We'll go to debug, start without debugging, or press Ctrl F5 to compile the program. As you can see, Hello World from ENGM 1081 is printed to the screen. Let's close the console window. Let's go through this code line by line. On line 1, we have hash include brackets and inside the brackets stdio.h. What does this mean? Whenever we have our code started by hash, it means that we're talking to the compiler. And this code doesn't need to be run during the runtime. Remember, compiler is the translator that translates our C programming language to machine language, so operating system can run our code. Operating system doesn't need to know about this line that starts with hash, only compiler needs to know what is it. But what is it? In order to understand what is it, let's first delete it and see what will happen. Debug, start without debugging, or press Ctrl F5, and we will face with 2 errors and 1 warning. The errors said, one of them said, unresolved external symbol printf referenced in function main. Basically it means I don't know what is printf and what should I do with it. So by just rule of thumb, I would think that the line I deleted kind of have the instruction of printf. And it is true. The line we deleted was hash include stdio.h. Imagine you buy a laptop, you go home, open it, start writing your email, sending email, writing Word files. You don't need to know how the laptop was built. You can still use it. And it's exactly the same scenario. You don't need to know how the printf function was designed and was built and was developed. But you need to know how to work with it. So printf function and many other functions that we are going to use in this program are embedded in this library, stdio.h. So to summarize it, we need the hash include stdio.h in order the compiler knows what is printf, otherwise it will error. Let's Ctrl F5, compile the code and make sure everything is running. Everything is running perfect. So let's close the console window and continue our code. On line 2, I left the line empty. It doesn't matter, you can delete it. So line 3 is our main function. The main function in a code, in a C code, is the entry point. But what is entry point? Again, you remember the compiler was translating C code to machine language? But when operating system wants to run that machine language, it needs to know where to start running. And the main function is that point. That's why we call it the entry point. So main function is a function like other functions that we can develop in a C program. And we will have tons of videos dedicated to functions for this class. Don't worry about it. Just hear me out here. So main is a function. Each function needs to have a signature. The signature of this function here is integer. It means this function can return an integer to the operating system. So I can add return 0, which means the code executed without any error to the operating system. So this function, when we reach line 6, integer 0 will be reported back to the operating system. Then a function needs a name, which in this case is main, and it has to stay main in order the compiler and the operating system to know what is the entry point. And then there are the brackets. Remember in mathematics we had y is equal to f of x, and x is the input and y was the output. It's kind of similar, same case. What goes between the parentheses is the input of this function. So function main, as it's the entry point here, it doesn't have an input. It could have input, and you could have inputs in the main function, but that's beyond the scope of this course, and we'll talk about it later in the advanced programming courses. Also, a function needs a body. Between the curly brackets, it's the body of the function. So I always like to go to next line. Let me show you. So I'm on this line. I'll go to next line, open my curly bracket. Visual Studio will automatically close my old curly bracket. I'll hit enter and I start writing the body of my function between the curly brackets, not on the same line of the curly brackets, because it's just a matter of preference, and I think it's much easier to read and more pleasant to eye. In the body of this function, we have two lines. The first line is printf parentheses string, which is hello world from engm ./n semicolon, and the second line is return 0 semicolon. Let's talk about semicolon first. Semicolon is an indication of that this command is finished. So it means that this printf command starts from the beginning of the line up to this point. If I delete the semicolon, Visual Studio will immediately show error to me. And if I hover my mouse on return, it says expect a semicolon, because if it doesn't have a semicolon, it thinks that the command ends at this point after the return 0, but it's wrong, because Visual Studio says, I have no idea what is printf string parentheses close return 0 mean. Perhaps there was a problem and there was a semicolon missing, and it's right. I'll add a semicolon here and the error is gone. The same thing for return 0. If I remove the semicolon, it says return 0 and curly bracket closed. Doesn't have a meaning, so there has to be a semicolon missing, and I put the semicolon back and the error is gone. But what is printf? Printf is a function, and we said that the declaration and implementation of the function is in the file stdio.h that we are including in the first line of the code. So now, compiler knows what is printf. We need to know how to work with it as well. So printf, if takes a string, will print that string out on the console. The string we're inputting to the printf function is hello world from engm 1081./n. The /n wasn't printed when we compiled the code. Let me compile the code and show it to you again. So it's just hello world from engm 1081. Where is the /n? The /n means that go to the next line. As you can see, the next line is empty. Let me delete the /n and see what's going to happen. So again, Control F5, and the console window, okay, the empty line is missing. And it means that /n tells the compiler to go to the next line. It's like when you're typing on Word and you press enter, you're basically activating this /n command. So this was the Hello World program. We will talk about the printf function in details and how we can manipulate it, how we can print whatever we want on the screen in the next episode. Thank you for watching this episode. I hope you've learned how to write a Hello World program and what exactly each line in that program means, and we're excited to learn about the fprintf function more in details in depth in the next lecture. Hope to see you guys in the next lecture. Have a good one. See you later.